Hey there friends, this is Praying Medic, and this is my QAnon thread for newbies. A lot of people have asked me to do a beginner video for people who are a little confused about QAnon, maybe people who have heard about Q and don't really know what Q is all about. So Q has stopped posting for a little while and gave me a break. So this is a thread that I put together on Twitter. And this video, I'm just going to go through the different tweets and posts that Q has put up here. I'll explain as much as I can some of the backstory to Q, some of the ins and outs of 8chan and 4chan, the places where Q posts. I will give you as objective and honest breakdown of Q as I can. What I really want you to do is I want to give you some information where you can make up your own mind, you can make up your own decision on whether you feel Q is worth your time or not. This is when I started this thread. In the notes in YouTube, I usually leave links to my original Twitter thread. So if you want to go and research the thread, check out the links and read the articles, you're welcome to do that. All right, there are a lot of sources of information on Q, or QAnon as he's called. This is what Wikipedia has to say about Q. It's actually kind of amusing. Q is also referred to, or QAnon is referred to monoliterally as Q, is the originator of a conspiracy theory popularized by supporters of the U.S. President Donald Trump. The theory involves a series of cryptic internet postings by a person claiming to have access to classified information involving the Trump administration and its opponents in the United States. Q's posting campaign is also referred to as the Storm, detailing a supposed secret counter-coup by the Trump administration against the alleged deep state. Adherents believe Q's claim that he is a high-level government insider with Q clearance, a U.S. Department of Energy security clearance, comparable to U.S. Department of Defense top security clearance with sensitive compartmentalized information access. All right. What all that means is that Q has been posting on 4chan and 8chan, which are these internet boards, claims to have a high level of security clearance and is giving insider information. Wikipedia does mention that Alex Jones and Jerome Corsi are promoting Q. However, lately Jerome Corsi has kind of dropped off the screen because Q has posted some things that have really irritated Jerome Corsi. I don't even know if Alex Jones is following Q. I don't really follow either one of them. So I couldn't tell you, but you know, Wikipedia is trying to associate Q with some conservative people that are, I guess, considered to be conspiracy theorists. There are a lot of people who are interested in conspiracy theories who are following Q. However, I am not particularly big on conspiracy theories. However, I am following Q. I would be cautious about dismissing or following Q just because someone has a strong opinion about it. I would also be cautious in listening to people with strong political bias. Q has said often that his mission is not about politics. He said, you know, this is not about religions or party affiliation. Evil is everywhere. There are no drawn lines, no boundaries, good versus evil. It really is kind of as simple as good versus evil. Q has pointed out that there are as many corrupt Republicans in Congress as there are Democrats. So Q doesn't really take a party affiliation. It's the first thing you should know. All right, this is Trump's kind of mysterious discussion about the calm before the storm. Let's listen to it.
You guys know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
I don't know, maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm. We have the world's great military people in this room, I will tell you that. And we're going to have a great evening. Thank you all for coming.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Give us a hint of your answer.
Thank you, everybody.
So that was posted, I think, October 5th or 6th was when the president had that meeting with leaders of the military and their families. And a couple weeks later, October 28th, an anonymous person who claimed to have the high-level government security clearance began posting on the internet board 4chan. 4chan is an internet messaging board. I think they call it an image board, actually. And you can go on there and you can post things. They have discussions on a lot of different subjects. You can post anonymously. And the people who post on 4chan and 8chan are called anons because they usually have an anonymous ID and no one really knows who they are. That is one of the interesting things about people who post on 4chan and 8chan is they can claim to be anybody that they want, and there's no way to really verify who you're talking to. So that issue becomes big in this discussion. So this anonymous person said Hillary Clinton will be arrested between 7:45 a.m. and 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday, October 30th, 2017. And then that was posted at 12:33, and then about an hour later. Then this is a response. Hillary extradition already in motion, effective yesterday, with several countries in case of cross-border run. Passport was approved to be flagged effective 10:30. Expect massive riots organized in defiance and others fleeing the U.S. to occur. USM's military will conduct the operation while NG National Guard will be activated. Proof check. Locate a National Guard and member and ask if they've been activated for duty on 10:30 across most major cities. So one of the things that Q does is uses a lot of abbreviations and acronyms, and that is one of the difficulties in decoding Q is you have to understand what the acronyms means, and sometimes it's a guessing game, and sometimes we guess wrong. So I have just learned, because I've been studying Q for a while, that I've gotten down to most of the abbreviations and acronyms, although sometimes it does present a little bit of a problem. The promised arrest of Hillary Clinton back here did not happen on October 30th. So why would anybody follow Q if Q made a prediction that didn't come to pass? Well, let's keep going, shall we? Is Q a LARP? And what is a LARP? Okay, LARP is an acronym. It stands for Live Action Role Playing. It's actually something that's pretty popular in different circles. Role-playing game where participants physically act out their characters' actions. On 4chan and 8chan on the anonymous messaging boards, you can hide behind an anonymous username. LARPing is pretending to be somebody that you're not. You're acting. So a LARPer in this context might be somebody who says, I'm a high-level official in the Department of Justice. They don't give you any evidence to say that prove that they are, and they say DOJ is going to announce charges against the CEO of Comcast tomorrow, just like this person did here. Because no proof is provided, some people will say the poster is role-playing as the person they claim to be, or they're being a LARP. So when you hear the term LARP, it's just somebody who's acting or pretending to be someone that they're not. Also, this is a helpful graphic. When somebody posts on 4chan and 8chan, there's a lot of different information on there. On the upper left is sometimes some of the people have names or titles. Most people will post anonymously. You'll see that in the green there. Next to that to the right is the unique identifier. Next to that to the right is a date. Then there's a timestamp to the farther right, and then all the way to the right is the post number. Every post on the chans, as they're called, gets an individual unique post number, so you can look them up. In the second row below there, you'll see a blue link with some arrows. That is a link to a response. Whenever somebody responds to your post, you get a link, and if 5 or 6 people respond, you'll see 5 or 6 links there above the message. So that's basically what a post on 4chan or 8chan looks like. All right, Q Anon, or Q, did some pretty long posting early on. And I'm just going to read this one to you. It's kind of representative of some of the things that Q posts. So Q said, Mockingbird, HRC, Hillary Clinton, detained, not arrested yet. Where is Huma, Huma Abedin? Follow Huma. This has nothing to do with Russia yet. Why does POTUS surround himself with generals? What is military intelligence? Why go around the 3-letter agencies? That would be NSA, FBI, DOJ, 3-letter agencies. What Supreme Court case allows for the use of MI, military intelligence, versus congressional assembled and approved agencies? Who has ultimate authority over branches of the military without approval conditions unless 90+ days in wartime conditions? What is the military code? Where is AW, Anthony Weiner, being held? Anthony Weiner is Huma Abedin's husband. Why? POTUS will not go on TV to address the nation. POTUS must isolate himself to prevent negative optics. POTUS knew removing criminal rogue elements as first step was essential to free and pass legislation. Who has access to everything classified? Do you believe HRC, Hillary, Soros, George Soros, and Obama, etc. have more power than Trump? Fantasy. Whoever controls the office of the president controls this great land. They never believed for a moment they, Democrats and Republicans, would lose control. This is not a Republican versus Democrat battle. Why did Soros donate all of his money recently? Why would he place all of his funds in a RC? Mockingbird, 10/30/17 is the date. God bless fellow patriots. I'm just giving you an example of the kind of things that Q posts. Lots of questions and lots of things for us to research. The first thing Q posted was Mockingbird. So when Q posts something and you don't know what it is that he's talking about, if you don't know about what Mockingbird is or Operation Mockingbird, you should look it up. Here is a Wikipedia article on Operation Mockingbird. I will go to Wikipedia and look at some things just as a basis for research, but I usually do a lot more research. I will find 3 or 4 or 5 articles on the same subject, compare what the authors are saying about them. Carl Bernstein is a well-respected writer. He's actually an award-winning reporter, and he had a lot to say about Operation Mockingbird. The short story on Operation Mockingbird is it was a CIA operation where the CIA infiltrated the press, the media. They put in CIA agents in management levels and as reporters in most of the major news agencies in the U.S. It was an operation that they did as a test. And of course, like everything that the CIA does, they do it for a while and then they say, oh, we're not doing that anymore. But Q suggests they still are. So that's the background on Operation Mockingbird. This is another post by Q. This is a bit shorter. Let me read it to you. Open your eyes. It finally came out that Rod and Rob were key players in the uranium scandal. Q here is referring to Rod Rosenstein and Robert Mueller. Mueller was FBI director at the time that the Uranium One deal went through, I think in 2011. Rod Rosenstein was a U.S. attorney in Maryland, and they had jurisdiction over the prosecution of the people involved in Uranium One. And they should have prosecuted a lot of people, and they didn't. It was actually more of a cover-up. So Q here is asking us, sort of rhetorically, all right, if it's now public knowledge that Rod Rosenstein, who is the Deputy Attorney General, and Robert Mueller, who is in charge of the Russia investigation, were involved in Uranium One scandal, why aren't more people talking about it? So moving on, don't you think POTUS would be tweeting about removal of them if given the clear conflict? Why did POTUS meet Robert Mueller, under the cover of FBI director interview? Bob is unable to serve as FBI director per the law. The FBI director is only allowed to serve a term of 10 years. Mueller was given a 2-year extension by Congress because of that law. So Trump met with Bob Mueller the day before he was appointed special counsel. They said officially that it was because he was being interviewed for the FBI director spot, a spot he wasn't eligible for. So Q is asking, why would Mueller meet secretly with Trump for a position that he wasn't eligible for? Q is suggesting they were meeting for another reason. Bob is unable to serve as director. Gowdy comments on Comey. All right, that's Trey Gowdy, who is going to be stepping down as chair of the House Oversight Committee. And Trey Gowdy said about Comey, history will be kind to him. And I'm just going to let you know, that is a cover story. You're going to see more on that in the future. Okay, Q says POTUS has everything. Q frequently says POTUS or Trump has everything, or we have it all, because Trump is the president and he has access to the National Security Agency, and NSA has been scooping up all electronic communications for decades. So they have detailed information on everything. So Q continues, not everyone is corrupt, fewer than you think. Follow Huma. Operation Mockingbird. Priority to clean out the bad actors to unite people behind the America First agenda. Many in our government worship Satan. It's not about Republican and Democrat at this stage. Where is Hillary? Why is NG, National Guard, called up across 12 cities? Trust in your president. God bless Patriots. Okay. Somebody, one of the Anons, actually developed these sort of like trading cards about the different aspects of Q. Q often refers to no such agency. NSA is no such agency. So for those of us who are following Q, this is just kind of a little thing that we do to amuse ourselves and entertain ourselves. All right. This is another post by Q, and let me read it for you. Some of us come here to drop crumbs, just crumbs. This was one of Q's first posts. On 8chan and 4chan, when you drop hints, drop clues, drop things for people to investigate, those are called crumbs. When a series of crumbs or clues is created, it's called a thread. And a thread is often referred to as a bread in the vernacular of 4chan and 8chan. And the people who assemble these discussion threads are called bakers. So when you see the words crumbs, baker, and bread, just think about these threads on the internet boards that people are creating and managing. That's all it is. All right, Q said, POTUS is 100% insulated. Any discussion suggesting he's even a target is false. POTUS will not be addressing the nation on any of these issues as people begin to be indicted and must remain neutral for pure optical reasons. To suggest this the plan is false and should be common sense. Focus on the military intelligence, state secrets, and why might that be used versus any three-letter agency. What SC, Supreme Court, decision opened the door for a sitting president to activate? What must be showed? Why is POTUS surrounded by generals? Again, there are a lot more good people than bad, so have faith. This was a hostile takeover from an evil, corrupt network of players, not just Democrats. Don't fool yourself into thinking Obama, Soros, Rothschilds, Clintons have more power than the president. Operation Mockingbird. Patriots are in control. Sit back and enjoy the show. Okay, so now you're getting a feel for the subject matter that Q discusses. And we already talked a little bit about bread and crumbs and bakers, another card. There are investigators on the boards, on Q's research board, 24/7, putting together information, doing research on articles and documents, researching the things that Q talks about. And for those of you Anons who are listening to this, my hat is off to all of you. You do such great work. So we appreciate that. In this post by Q, a little bit shorter one, just read it to you. So Q writes, key military intelligence versus FBI, CIA, and NSA. One of the things that I've come to know about Q, Q has told us that we are currently involved in an intelligence war. And a lot of people don't know it, but you can see signs of it in all this, oh gosh, the hullabaloo that's going on in Congress with the FISA warrants and the surveillance and all the people that are being removed from the Department of Justice and the FBI. That whole thing is, there is a war going on between the civilian intelligence agencies and the military intelligence. The civilian intelligence agencies essentially got co-opted by bad people, and the military saw what was going on, and the military essentially recruited Trump to work with them to gain back control of rogue intelligence agencies, essentially. All right, I'm going to continue. No approval or congressional oversight with the military. State secrets upheld under Supreme Court. Who is the commander-in-chief of the military? Under what article can the president impose the military and take over investigations for the three-letter agencies? So this is important. There is an article, I guess, in the Constitution that allows the president to allow the military to take over investigations rather than have the FBI and DOJ do it. What conditions must be present? Why is this so important? Who surrounds POTUS? They lost this very important power, the one area of the government not corrupt and directly serves POTUS. Q is basically saying here that the military is supporting Trump in his efforts to regain control of a government that has been corrupted and taken over by criminals. That's what we're looking at. All right, short post by Q, military intelligence. Reference above is the absolute biggest drop this board will ever receive. Now think about why Antifa plays right into the plan. Always ahead, good guys are winning. The Anons on 4chan and 8chan are always looking for insiders to drop, like secret, juicy intelligence. And Q said, you're not going to get any intelligence drops bigger than this one, ever. All right, this is a long post by Q. It is very important. I've gone back to this post many times. It has a lot of very good information in it, and I'm just going to read it to you. It starts out with SCIF up here near the top. SCIF is a sensitive compartmentalized information facility. Top-level security clearance, you have to go into a secure building, essentially, and get access to classified information. Military intelligence. What are state secrets and how are they upheld by the Supreme Court? SC. What must be completed to engage military over other three-letter agencies? Why is this relevant? What is General Flynn's background? Why is this relevant? Why did Admiral R. Rogers, head of NSA, meet Trump privately without authorization? Does POTUS know where the bodies are buried? Does POTUS have goods on most bad actors? Was Trump asked to run for president? Why? By who? Was Hillary next in line? Was the election supposed to be rigged? Did good people prevent the rigging? Why did POTUS form a panel to investigate the election? Has POTUS ever made statements that did not become proven as true or fact? You know, it's interesting. There's a scandal about this New York Attorney General today, who he stepped down because he's been accused of violent crimes against 4 different women. Trump was tweeting about him back in 2013 and 2014 being a corrupt person who's going to eventually be exposed. Trump knows a lot on people who are corrupt. So here Q is asking, has Trump ever made a statement that did not become proven as fact? What is POTUS in control of? What is the organization, one organization left that isn't corrupt? Why does the military play such a vital role? Why is POTUS surrounded by highly respected generals? Who guards former presidents? Why is that relevant? Who guards Hillary? Why is Antifa allowed to operate? Why hasn't the Muslim Brotherhood been classified a terrorist organization? What happens if Soros-funded operations get violent and engage in domestic terrorism? What happens if mayors and police commissioners and chiefs do not enforce the law? What authority does POTUS have specifically over the Marines? Why is this important? What is Mueller's background? Military? Was Trump asked to run for president with assurances made to prevent tampering? How is POTUS always 5 steps ahead? Who is helping POTUS? There is more information in that little post than you can ever imagine. If you really focus on that over the next couple of months, you will be astounded at what was revealed there. Okay, so the following day, Q announced that Huma Abedin and John Podesta were going to be arrested. This was posted on October 31st. There are more good people than bad. Wizards and warlocks, an inside term, will not allow another satanic evil POS control our country. Realize Soros, Clintons, Obama, Putin are all controlled by three families. The fourth was removed post-Trump's victory. 11-3, Podesta indicted. 11-6, Huma indicted. Manafort was placed into Trump's campaign as well as others. The corruption that will come out of this is so serious that deals must be cut for the people to walk away. Otherwise, 70% of elected politicians would be in jail. You're already seeing it begin. A deep cleaning is occurring, and the prevention and defense is pure evil. It is occurring on a daily basis. They never thought they were going to lose control of the presidency, not just D's, and thought they had control since making past mistakes, JFK and Reagan. Godspeed, Patriots. P.S. Soros is targeted. Okay, so more information. A prediction. Huma Abedin and John Podesta will be indicted on 11-3 and 11-6. Okay. And then that night, Q posted this. I'll read it to you. Get the popcorn. Friday and Saturday will deliver on the MAGA promise. POTUS knows he must make a clean house government in order to free up and demonstrate who has authority in order to pass important legislation. This was always a priority. Remember, AG Sessions cannot look like an impartial player that's out to get all former Obama team members, as we need him for other important work. All will come into focus, and for anyone to think POTUS is not in control is kidding themselves. Also, he's 100% insulated with zero risk of impeachment. Fact. Q is giving us insider information that is contrary to what we're seeing in the mainstream media. Lots of people who are Trump supporters are freaking out because they think Mueller is going to indict Trump, charge him with obstruction. That's going to lead to impeachment. Q here is saying there is zero risk of impeachment. Okay? And says we should trust Sessions. He cannot look like he is out to get the Obama administration. He has to appear disinterested. He cannot be involved in any of that stuff. So Q is suggesting that if that's going to be handled, it's being handled by someone other than Sessions. So Q is always giving us information that contradicts what we see in the mainstream media. That is one of the things that Q does. All right. Or suggests that there's something else going on than what we're seeing in the mainstream media. Another card about Sessions. A lot of people, like I said, they're freaked out because they think Sessions is doing nothing. Sessions is going to allow Trump to be impeached, and Sessions is asleep and not doing anything. He's a deep state operative, whatever. Q has always told us to trust Sessions. That's one of the things that Q tells us. All right. On October 31st, later that night, Q's posted this. Who controls NG? National Guard. Why was the National Guard recently activated in select cities within the U.S.? Can the National Guard work in coordination with the Marines? Do conditions need to be satisfied to authorize? What former president used the military to save the Republic, and what occurred exactly? Biggest drop to ever be provided on Poll. Poll is one of the many research boards here on 4chan. Study and prepare. The masses tend to panic in such situations. No war, no civil unrest. Clean and swift. Just kind of summarize here. Q has been predicting that Hillary would be arrested, John Podesta and Huma Abedin would be indicted, the National Guard was going to be mobilized to put down civil unrest, and it was going to be a clean operation, and there wouldn't be a whole lot of bloodshed. Why would Q say any of that? Well, that is because these were all being done in the last week of October, and Antifa and several other groups had promised to forcibly remove Trump from the White House on November 4th. Okay, you have to go back to, what is it, 7-8 months ago. There was a lot of yelling and screaming and hollering that Trump was going to be forcibly removed. There was going to be rioting. A lot of different organizations were calling for riots. So this is all in the context of those threats of rioting by various organizations. Now, you should start thinking, if Q has been talking about military intelligence, one of the things that military intelligence uses is disinformation and propaganda. So somewhere along the line, you have to put into your mind the possibility that everything you've read so far is propaganda, disinformation. Possible. All right, let's move on. One of the Anons on 4chan responded to Q. He thought he'd figured out why the president wasn't worried about Antifa. This is a long explanation. I'm not going to read it all to you. Essentially, he found out that in the past, the military had been used to infiltrate political resistance groups. And this Anon says, haha, Trump has the military intelligence infiltrate Antifa and all dissenting local governments. So yes, the Anon figured out that Antifa and the Muslim Brotherhood and all these other organizations are allowed to keep going because they're infiltrated by the military intelligence. And Trump is getting reports back on all of them, what they're doing. So Q reposted this on 4chan and said, hey, well done. Picture is being painted. All right. Q then posted this. October 31st was a busy day for Q. World stalemate. You know what a stalemate is in chess? It's when neither party can move or wants to move. We have all the goods on everyone else. That's part of the reason why some things that tie back to foreign heads of state will remain classified. Not all. We are one of the most critical times of our country. Trump and others are working to balance. We're doing well for America, for the common person to endorse, while at the same time purify our government and remove the bad actors who are entrenched. There is so much string pulling and blackmail. We need to cut these off to truly gain the power granted to us by the patriots and hardworking people of this great country. This was another post by Q, and this was on November 1st, so the following day. Q, Clarence Patriot. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize we are taking back our great country and the land of the free from evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light. On POTUS's order, we have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur on 11/3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable on 11/4. Confirmation to the public of what is occurring that will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. On POTUS's order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. We will be initiating the emergency broadcast system during this time in an effort to provide a direct message, avoiding the fake news to all citizens. Organizations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. Holy cow. It sounds like Q is telling everyone that they have planned for mass rioting and they are going to have the military handle it. Now, if this doesn't smell like disinformation and propaganda, I don't know what does. So I'm just going to leave it there and we'll just continue. Q then posted this. POTUS will be well insulated, protected in Air Force One and abroad, specific locations classified. While these ops are conducted due to the nature of the entrenchment, it is time to take back our country and make America great again. Let us salute and pray for the brave men and women in uniform who will undertake this assignment to bring forth peace, unity, and return power to the people. It's our hope that this message reaches enough people to make a meaningful impact. We cannot yet telegraph this message through normal methods for reasons I'm sure everyone here can understand. Following the questions from the previous thread and remain calm. The primary targets are within DC and remain at the top on both sides. Spillover in the streets will be quickly shut down. Look for more false flags, stay alert, be vigilant, and above all, please pray. For God so loved the world that he gave his only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. Love is patient, love is kind. God bless my fellow Americans. 41020. 41020. If you assign a number to each letter of the alphabet, it's DJT, the initials for Donald J. Trump. So, all right, it's a lot of information. I apologize, but it's almost over the long part of it. So at this point, if you're not beginning to suspect some kind of a hidden motive behind this post, you might want to consider that. It is possible that Q has just been LARPing and acting and has no real information. It's also possible that Q is who he claims to be, and this could be propaganda. Propaganda, disinformation, and distraction are very powerful weapons. Much of the credit for the fall of the Iron Curtain and the Soviet Union in the 80s goes to a heavy campaign of psychological warfare and disinformation that was used against the Soviets. Tom Clancy, most of his novels kind of detail that type of operation. Cardinal of the Kremlin is one of them. Q posted this, and this is November 2nd, and I'm just going to read this. To those watching, you know who you are. You have a choice to make. You can stand up and do what you know is right, or you can suffer the consequences of your previous actions. Make no mistake, you are on the losing side. Choice is yours. If you decide to take down Pol and the net, we will be ready. There's a code in there with a bunch of numbers. I don't know what that means. Alice in Wonderland. Okay. So this is a different kind of post. This post is to people inside the intelligence community. It's not to the Anons. It is to people inside the DOJ, FBI, and the CIA who are watching. So now Q kind of breaks the wall, the barrier, and says, this isn't to the Anons, this is only to you, people in the intelligence community who are watching this board and you're monitoring what I'm saying. This is a direct message to you. We know who you are, and you have very little time to get your act together and come clean, or we're going to take you down. So now we have to reconcile the fact that Q is talking to different groups of people with different messages. Okay, that post was not to the Anons. That was to intelligence operatives who are watching now. Who else is watching? Because this board, Politically Incorrect, is monitored by a lot of people. It's monitored by groups, it's monitored by activists, it's monitored by intelligence agencies. There's a lot of people that are watching what is being posted there. So you have to consider the fact that these messages are aimed at different people. The people who are on these boards, they know that there's a lot of different audiences watching. So we know that Q is now communicating different messages to different audiences. Okay? There are different types of propaganda. White propaganda, in this case, the messenger is public and the message comes from an official source. So press briefings from politicians, from officially recognized political outlets, they can put out propaganda. Okay, gray propaganda, in this case, the messenger can but does not need to be properly identified, and the veracity of the message is uncertain. In gray propaganda, you don't really know who the messenger is, and you don't know if the message is true. In black propaganda, the messenger appears to be an enemy. The true messenger and his intentions remain hidden, and the message is intentionally false. Okay, so we're getting into a little bit of psychological warfare here, but you have to understand, Q is aware that his enemies are listening and watching and what he's posting. So here's a question you have to think about. If you are Q and you know that your enemies are watching what you're posting, are you going to give them your plans? Probably not. If you know that your enemies are listening and watching you, you are going to give them a distraction. You're going to give them disinformation to make them think you're going to do one thing when you're really planning to do something else. And I think that is what we're seeing here. Q has already said through this post, I know that my enemies are watching me, so you now have a choice. You can act on the information I've given you, some of which may be false, or you can get over to the side that's right and maybe cut a deal. All right, so let's move on. This post in particular generated a lot of responses from the Anons, and at this point, we're going to transition into a discussion between the Anons on 4chan and Q. Now, this is such a long post. This is the first part, and this is the second part. There's a lot of information here. I'm not going to take your time and read all of it. I want to focus in on one particular part of it, and that's going to be the discussion for the rest of this next 10 minutes. And it's this part here. Why did JK travel to SA recently? JK is Jared Kushner. SA is Saudi Arabia. We know that around this time in October, Jared Kushner had been making a lot of visits to the Middle East. And we also know that Jared Kushner was considered Trump's point man in the Middle East as far as foreign policy goes. One of the reasons why Trump had Kushner on board is because Kushner is well known to the Middle East nations, to the Jordanians and the Qataris and the Saudis. They all know him. He's worked with them in the past. So Q asks, why did JK travel to Saudi Arabia recently? What is Saudi Arabia, SA, known for? Where do the biggest donations originate from? Political donations. Why is this relevant? What else is relevant with Saudi Arabia? Safe harbor? Port of transfer? Why was there a recent smear campaign against JK, Jared Kushner, and POTUS? Why is the timing important? Who released the article? These are those articles about Kushner and Trump. Washington Post, New York Times. The Council of Wizards and Warlocks cannot be defeated. Q. All right, so this was on, important to note, for November 3rd. Okay, November 3rd. This is a response from one of the Anons. I'm going to laugh at all you fags when the 4th comes and literally nothing happens, and you'll be glued to Reuters all day long. Nothing happens. That's the way it always is, right? So this guy's a bit skeptical. He says nothing's going to happen on the 4th. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the boards 4chan and 8chan, they don't call it politically incorrect for nothing. Fag and faggot are accepted terms in that culture for anyone who posts there. Draw fags, new fags, old fags, vegan fags, movie fags, photo fags, army fags, IT fags, plain fags. All the people who post on the chans, they all have different specialties, areas of interest. Whatever your area of interest is, put fag on the end of it, and that's what they call you. So it's not really a term, a derogatory term. It's just part of their culture. So I just want to clear that up because you're going to see a lot of that. If you do get interested in following Q, and especially if you go on the chans, you're going to see that, and just want to let you know what that's all about. The next day on November 4th, in a crackdown on corruption, 11 princes were arrested in Saudi Arabia, including one of the wealthiest men in the world, Prince Al-Walid bin Talal. Okay, this is a New York Times article on that. You probably remember it, the Saudi purge. So one of the Anons posted a headline, a news link to it, and said, Saudi purge. Another Anon saw that, said, lots of stuff going down today. I wonder if the Saudi arrests are connected in any way. Another Anon chimed in, didn't Q mention something about SA, Saudi Arabia? A skeptical Anon chimed in and said, events were entirely unrelated to what the LARPer was talking about happened, thus confirming the LARP was real. You idiots are running poll with your 2-digit IQs. So this Anon says no. It's not related to what Q is talking about. This Anon says false. Jared Kushner and what was going on in Saudi Arabia were directly mentioned. So another Anon says, yeah, they just arrested one of the wealthiest people in the world. This Anon said, oh, the storm sure did arrive in Saudi Arabia. Another Anon posted a link to an article about Lebanon's prime minister resigning the same day. Holy cheat. So this Anon here says, someone give me a basic gestalt of what is happening. Another Anon responded, no one knows what's happening right now. I just went to post in a new thread about Talal getting arrested, and it got deleted by mods 2 posts in. Yeah, stuff's going down, lads. So there's a little bit of confusion and a little bit of anxiety about what is going on with all this stuff. So one of the Anons here said, yeah, so Q is legit, because they're seeing that Q warned them that something was going to happen with Saudi Arabia the previous day on the 3rd, and today there's the arrests. So one of the skeptical Anons, yeah, vague BS meant to include many countries as possible. Could just as easily be South America or South Africa. A shill tactic to waste people's time and energy on BS to wear them down. So when nothing happens, but you already knew that, didn't you? And then this Anon says, okay, wait. Go back to the post about the families that run everything and Trump's taking out one. Was one of them the Saudi family? Seriously, because that makes this a happening. I remember the phrasing not making sense. I was like, oh, does he mean that Donald Trump took out the Clintons? Because the Clintons were on the list as remaining, so I don't know who was taken out. And that is referring back to this post up here. There are Soros, Clinton, Obama, and Putin are all controlled by 3 families. Those 3 families, for those of you who are keeping notes at home, is the Saudi royal family, the Rothschilds, and George Soros. So, going back to this post, the Anon suddenly puts 2 and 2 together and says, hey, something's going on here. We got to connect some dots. Q says, very smart Anon, disinformation is real, distractions are necessary. SA, Saudi Arabia is the primary. US is secondary, and then Asia and EU. Alice in Wonderland. I did want to park on something here for just a minute, let you know. So I'm going to be honest with you. I've been researching Q for 2 or 3, 4 months. This is the first time I remember seeing disinformation is real, distractions are necessary. When Denise and I, my wife, were talking about this the other day, she goes, yeah, Q's posted that a bunch of times. And I was like, I don't remember him saying that. What do you mean? Q said disinformation is real? When did he say that? And I went back and I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, it's all over the place. So Q has warned people that there is going to be some disinformation out there, and it's necessary because Q knows that his enemies are watching what he's posting, and they're making plans based on what he posts. So he has to give some disinformation to them to throw them off. Distractions are necessary. Now, here's the other thing that's important. Q said SA is primary, US is secondary, and then Asia and EU. Q has posted this a number of times over the last 5 months. Hardly anyone is talking about it, but it is critical to understand this. If Q is who he claims to be, Q is telling us this is the plan to restore freedom to the entire world. Saudi Arabia was first. They purged out all of the corrupt princes who were funding terrorism, who were paying and funding corrupt politicians around the world. That was a main source of revenue that was funding war, terrorism, and political corruption. Trump worked with the Saudi royal family. They arrested the princes, they froze their assets, and they cut the strings of those people and are not allowing them to control that sector anymore. Q said US is next, Asia, and then EU. So, Saudi Arabia is done. They've already gotten their purge. US is next. Now, the US is secondary, but if you look at other Q posts, you'll see that Asia and EU, and there's aspects of it that overlap. While the corruption is being purged out of the US, it is also being purged out of North Korea. We know that Kim Jong-un is going to be meeting with the president probably in a month or two to finalize peace talks and denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula, something that no one thought was possible for the last 20 years. There is now, today, the president announced he's pulling out of the Iran deal. Q has told us many times, after North Korea, Iran is next. Trump is working on a peace deal with Iran. It will probably include Syria as well. All right. Q has been telling us for a long time the plan. Saudi Arabia first, then we're going to go after North Korea, Iran. We're concurrently working on getting rid of corruption in America, and then it's going to go to Europe. So those of you who live in Europe, and if you live in Australia, New Zealand, know that the plan involves taking down the corruption in your country. This is a global plan to take down corruption, to defund terrorists, and to straighten out all the things that have been going wrong for the last, I don't know, 100 years. So that is the big picture view that we're looking at. And Alice in Wonderland. There are many little phrases that Q puts in here. Alice in Wonderland, Godfather 3, Wizards and Warlocks, Iron Eagle. They're all code names for different parts of the operation, different parts of the plan. And I will do a future video and I'll explain all those code names and what they mean. You'll find it somewhat amusing, actually. All right, let's move on. So the debate about whether Q is a LARP really revolves around, you know, your perceived accuracy about predicted events. Some people saw Q predicting the arrest of Hillary and Huma and Podesta and said, "Ah, Q's a LARP, Q's a phony." I believe that there was a reason for that. Look, there's a lot of people who were planning to overthrow the government on November 4th. So I believe Q was given a disinformation campaign to put out there to let the rioters know that they were going to be met with swift fury and they should not try to engage civil war and civil unrest. And it worked, actually. Just to let you know a little bit of background, there were massive attacks on 4chan when Q was first on the Chan, and some of the board owners and moderators asked Q to move over to 8chan. So he did, and they set up a board for him called, I think the original one was Great Awakening, and then, or no, it was Calm Before the Storm, sorry about that. Calm Before the Storm was first, and eventually Q set up his own board that he had control over, and he posted on that for a while. That board actually got taken over by the CIA. They stole his password and got in and co-opted it, so Q shut that board down. Q has actually had to do a lot of things to keep on posting. So in the next series of posts, you'll see that the tiles are no longer pink and green, but they're kind of a lavender and rose color. On January 7th, Q posted this. I'll just, this is where Q's posts get a little bit cryptic. So DEFCON 1, 4/10/20, Fire and Fury, parentheses 9, States of Class, ready to go live, parentheses 34, Commands live, Codes Command Action, brackets non-nuclear, brackets 1, all 1 brackets Q. All right. Q has actually posted a lot of stuff like that, and some of that I'm able to decode, some of it I'm not. I will say this, if you're not able to decode all of what Q posts, that's okay. You can get the idea from just the things that you can decode. And do not think of this as a crossword puzzle, because a crossword puzzle, although it's fun to solve, it doesn't communicate any information. When you're done at the end of the day of solving a crossword puzzle, you have put a bunch of words in a bunch of blank spaces, but it doesn't tell you anything. All right, if you just simply try to decode Q's little messages and try to feel like you have to decode each little thing and get the right number and the right letter and the right thing, it's not going to convey a message to you. Q is trying to convey information, so don't think of it as a crossword puzzle. Things to note: DEFCON 1, 4/10/20, that's Donald J. Trump. Fire and Fury. Fire and Fury is a reference to the president's response to Kim Jong-un when he would not stop his missile testing. And then non-nuclear. So we have a DEFCON 1, which is the highest state of alert, warning, and we have a non-nuclear. This was on January 7th. 6 days later, on January 13th, we have the Hawaiian false missile alert. A lot of you probably remember this. False ballistic missile alert was issued by the emergency alert system and commercial mobile alarm system over TV, radio, and cell phones in the U.S. state of Hawaii. The alert stated that there was an incoming ballistic missile threat to Hawaii. Some people took it as a threat from North Korea. Okay, you remember that. And then it turned out to be turned out to be nothing. All right. So how in the world did Q seem to know there was going to be a missile alert coming in, DEFCON 1, and it would be non-nuclear a week before it happened? That's the suggestion here. There's a strong hint that Q somehow knew before this missile alert was going off. Was that just a coincidence? Lucky guess? Okay, let's just move on. This was from March 8th. There was an announcement that Trump was going to meet with Kim Jong-un. The Anon says, hey, here we go, Anons. Wow, huge. North Korea will meet with 45. Trump, mega. Q posted, he already did. Trump already met with Kim Jong-un. Think back, North Korea picks. Everything is meaning. This will break the mainstream media. Q. What do you mean Trump met with Kim Jong-un? What pictures of North Korea are you talking about? So let's go back to November. Middle of November, President takes a trip to Asia. He visits China, Japan, South Korea, and a bunch of other places. And while the president was in the air on Air Force One, he posted this picture, "Thank you, Asia." And Q had posted that. Or actually, this Anon posted and said, hey, did anyone see this, the vid? It was actually a little video of the president posted. And Q said, isn't that curious? What's below? And the Anons responded, and there were some guesses and stuff. Then on March 5th, one of the Anons posted this. Hey, it was 111 days ago before Monday we saw this. Did we decide this was North Korea? Down below, when Q said, what's below? Q kind of got a little snarky and said, do you think the Asia Live original post was for nothing? Q. So he's sort of saying, yes, we decided that was North Korea. So the Anons asked, when and where did Trump meet with Kim Jong-un? And Q responded, think Forbidden City. POTUS never crossed the line on ground. Do not glorify us. We work for you. Promises made. Promises kept. Q. One of the things I would say about Q, if Q's a LARP, if Q's a phony, he has never drawn attention to himself. He's always said, don't glorify us. We work for you. Most of the people I know who are LARPs and phonies, they want attention. They want to take the glory. They want to be seen as important and smart. Q has never wanted to take the glory for anything or the credit for anything. He always points to others. He has thanked the Anons. He has asked people to pray for the Anons, to pray for the president. He's never drawn attention to himself. So, what about the Forbidden City? Trump visited with President Xi. He was the first dignitary ever to visit the Forbidden City, foreign dignitary. Okay, so this was on March 8th. One of the Anons asked, hey, why the stop in Hawaii after Trump's trip to Asia? That still makes me wonder. Q posted, DEFCON, no such agency. NSA, we knew. How did we know? Who did we meet? The need to know was kept to 5 people plus a special security detail. Future proves past. So Q says, when Trump was coming back from Asia, he stopped in Hawaii to get information from the NSA about the false missile alert that was coming up. I could go on for days about the proofs that Q has posted, hundreds of them. But you know, more than the proofs, looking at Q's posts and getting Q's information has helped me interpret the news, interpret world events on the global stage. Q has helped me understand what the plan is, the big picture plan. It's not about the proofs, it's not about the funny little things. I mean, they're kind of cool.
So that's called the reciprocal tax or mirror tax, and we're going to be doing a lot of that. It's the first year we've really set the stage. A lot of it had to do with
Q had been talking about setting the stage for weeks, months before the president did that. In the middle of a speech, the president says, yep, we really set the stage, makes a little Q hand wave. There's been a lot of little subtle things like that that are kind of proofs. I find it kind of fun to follow Q and to do the research. It's interesting to me. What it really does is it gives me hope. It gives me hope that there is a plan to end all these wars. There's a plan to end corruption. There's a plan to prosecute bad people. Q knows what the plan is, and Q has been telling us for months what the plan looks like. So that is going to do it for this video. I thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. Thank you for praying for me and the president and everyone in Congress. I love you all. We feel your prayers, and I hope this video has blessed you and helped you see things a little differently. This is Praying Medics signing off. I will catch you on the next broadcast.